Guys, welcome back. Let's talk about the North Melbourne versus Richmond. Obviously, didn't go probably the way we could probably say that we all had hoped it went. 2015, 135 to our 13, 987. So we ended up going down by about 48 points. Probably not where I think we all thought we were. And let's just be honest, it was a very hard game to watch. There was more bad and ugly than there was good this week. Off the bat, we know reports have now come out that Nick Lostone has broken a leg, so he is 100% certain done for the year. I still have my fingers crossed that Lostone will get the All-Australian jacket, but there's a few things I'll address in the good and the bad and the ugly. I think my last video I tried to pinpoint a fair bit of these things for the 5 things that we need to improve going into the game. I definitely believe those 5 things some were improved, some definitely were not. But look, it is what it is. We'll start off with straight at the game. Look at the first quarter. Look, it didn't seem like we were playing too bad. Like 4 goals 2 to 2 goals 7. So it seemed like the ball was on our terms. And the crazy thing is that, then going into the next quarter, we kicked 2 goals 1 to their 4 goals 4. So like they definitely had the game on their terms. They had no Larky as well, and then they ended up losing Cam Zerha as well going into half time. Then they ended up kicking 14-13. So they ended up kicking 8 goals 2 to our 1 goal 6. So obviously us kicking accuracy was not there again. Yet again, inaccuracy for kicking shots on goal caused a bit of issues. Definitely probably could have put the game in our favour for a lot longer if we had kicked accurate at the start of the game as well. Something we need to improve on as well. And then obviously we fought back a little bit in the fourth quarter, and then just died off again as well. One stage I think we got it down to 29 points. And I had the belief of if we had been able to get the game kicked another goal or 2 and left it at that and kept it below 30 points, that we could have held our heads up high that we did have a good quarter. We came back, we fought, we played our style, but it didn't happen. So, yeah, it's something we need to improve on going into next year, and it's not going to be any better because next week we have Geelong. So, look, that is at the MCG. This was over at Tassie. I definitely thought there was a lot more we could have done, and that's coming to the coaching. So I'll go into that with just the coaching. That definitely felt like they didn't make any changes. I don't know if they don't want to, or they're just so... Uze and the coaching team as a group is so focused on running the same system and not changing it whatsoever, which is starting to become quite annoying because I think every now and then you need to know when you can pull certain levers, or levies or switches on players in positions and throw magnets around that in that time it can change a game. So, as an example, Dustin Martin, we used to have that as a levy that Harvick could pull. Okay. Or Dusty could field the game, or Cochrans could feel this isn't going our way. What do we need to do? Dusty, we're not scoring. We can't seem to get the ball in, but it goes out. So we would throw Dusty down the forward line, and Dusty would turn it on and kick a couple of goals. Or we're not getting enough out of the centre. So we throw Dusty, take him from forward into the centre, and allow him to run around the game, around the ground, and get more ball dominance, and start getting the ball going our way. And I felt like I know we don't have those players. But I feel like you got to try. Got to try on some of these guys to see if there's a trigger we can pull to change the way the game was swinging. Because it just felt like we weren't changing it, and it felt the coaches just weren't doing anything besides just going, they'll figure it out. And I don't like that mentality from a coach. And look, it might not be that mentality because it was his usual speech after the game. It's not up to AFL standard, and I think that's that little gateway to get out of trouble because you're trying to say that this isn't the right thing and we're not doing it right. That has to go because you're saying it too many times. There's too many games where he's using that as an excuse, not up to AFL standard. Well, you're meant to be up to AFL standard. You're meant to be coaching him up to AFL standard. You must have a game plan that's up to AFL standard, even if it's a half a game plan. It needs to be up to AFL standard. So, look, and they had something like 10 plus players. Another one in the 20 plus disposals. I think we had 2, Hopper and Nank. And then look, even like one other one was tackles. Christian Cherry had 18 tackles from a ruckman, so it was quite concerning. I don't know whether that's just coming from the bounces and the centre and he's just getting to a player, but that's a lot from a ruckman with 40 hitouts. I think, look, Nank had 2 tackles to his 30 hitouts, so it's not a great combination off the ruck. I kind of saw that coming last time. Sherry definitely did own us, and that's going to be something we need to address in the off-season as well. Very short ruckman taking on bigger guys. Seems to be the ruckman getting a bit more bigger and mobile, and Nank's that shorter, more mobile player. So we definitely need to address that at some stage. Now I'll kind of go into, I think now I'll move into the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's try and find some positive out of this game, because there wasn't much, but I will try and find glimpses, because that's what we're after, and that's what I'm hoping. I don't want to be the guy that comes on here and he's depressed and he's down, he's angry, and he just bashes the club for their actions and the decisions and how the players play. So, and I will say this, and I will emphasize this: there are always a positive out of every game. I don't care if we lose by 150 points. There will be something that I can find a positive out of, and I will use, because that's what we're doing for. This is what this year is meant to be. This year is meant to be officially, so I just want everyone to remember this, it's Adam Uze's first year as official coach, pretty much. Last year was just a gap year. It was a horrible year. Players quit. Do you want to be there? Too many injuries. Even this year, we have I think it was up to 15 players on the injury list coming into this week's game, so definitely something that needs to be addressed. But the positives I took out of it was Tom Lynch and Noel Bolter. I definitely think that Tom Lynch tried his ass out. He had 3 goals for, 13 disposals, 11 kicks, 2 handballs, 7 marks, 2 tackles. Obviously, the inaccuracy wasn't great, but the fact was that he had 7 opportunities to kick goals, and he kicked 3 out of 4. Would have loved it if it was obviously 7 straight, totally different game. But it looked like maybe Lynch having this 5 weeks off was good for his body. And maybe having Noel Bolter playing in the forward line with him frees him up. Because, as we know, Bolter is a big, powerful, very speedful player at his height and his size. And my guessing is that they had to put somebody on him to mitigate Bolter, and then that allowed no kind of system defense where the player can slide back and help out Toby Pink take on Tom Lynch, where you couldn't do that because Bolter can get the ball, and he gets the ball, he can kick a big kick, so he can send it about 65 metres. Took that off him as well, which is really good to see. And it was good to see Lynch back and getting in his form, kicking some goals, reward for effort. Bolter was the same. Seth Campbell started off really quiet. Didn't seem to have the ball too much. He's been quiet the last couple of weeks. But he turned it on and ended up kicking 3 goals out of 10 disposals, which is what we need from him. Considering he's kind of probably our Castagna for the next, should be hopefully our Castagna for the next 10 years. Obviously, fingers across he doesn't have the Castagna kicking curse, but that was really happy to see. And the other one was a highlight reel. Sheasel went to get his 50th disposal, and a Rioli got to him and destroyed him, and tackled him and got him pinned for holding the ball. Yes, he did end up getting 54 disposals. That's something I'll address afterwards. But it was good to see that Rioli still had that tackling pressure there. You can still see that pressure rating of him is still elite. And he did kick a goal as well. So, reward for effort for him. Probably the ugly. Actually, I'll go bad. The bad, we could probably say, ended up being our midfield. I think we all can agree. There was a stat that came out today. It was Hopper, Taranto, Prestia, and Taj Houghton has an example. Was it Hop in the last 4 weeks? Prestia had been to 38 centre bounce attendance. Hopper was at 54 and Taranto was at 62. For those out of those high percentage of attendance and 62 centre bounce attendances for those 4 weeks. Tim Taranto only had 5 clearances. And then it moved down to the next person, which was Jacob Hopper, who had 54, I believe it was, and he had 4 clearances out of 54 centre attendances. And then it went to Taj Houghton, who had been to 10 and had 4 clearances. Out of those 10 centre bounce clearances, Taj had 4 clearances. So the same amount as Hopper with 3 times less. And then Prestia was at 38 and he only had 3 centre clearances. So that's my bad. That centre mix needs to be fixed. 1000% next year. I don't know if it's a trade away, a Hopper or a Taranto, or unfortunately you don't give Dion Prestia another contract, just to force Adam Uze's hands to stop paying the 3 veterans in there that are too slow. We need to address the midfield, and finding a Taj and a Rioli and Seth Campbell. In this draft, we need to find 2 speed midfielders that play on the outside, and pick 2 and 3. So that was the bad. The ugly would be the Sheasel. Now I know Kane Corns came out and blasted it, even though considering he blasted Sheasel for being not good. As soon as Sheasel kicks 2 goals and has 54 disposals, he's all over him like fucking hotcakes. But that's just Kane Corns. He's a kiss ass. But it was more annoying. This has happened, 3 weeks, if you can think of this, nearly 3 weeks in a row now, where Adam Uze refuses to put a tag on. He did it against Harley Reid, and he did it against Zach Merritt when we were playing Essendon, and he can do it, and it does work. I don't know why when you have Nick Dacos, Signwagon, Ring Marilla, and now Sheasel both get like 35 plus and a couple of goals, and they end up beating you quite comfortably, and you don't decide to do a tail roll with Jack Ross. I would never understand. That is my ugly, and that's on Adam Uze for not pulling that levy, as I was saying. Pull a fucking levy and put a tag on him, because he was just cutting us up. So, look, it wasn't much after that. Look, and the one thing I will say is I did bring up inside 50s. Inside 50s is one thing I said on my top 5 video that we needed to address, and then being able to going in and score. Now, we did kick 87 points, which is probably the most we've kicked in a while. Besides the West Coast game, it was good to see that we were scoring every quarter, but it needs to go back to kicking 3 or 4 every quarter. Inside 50s percentage was 31%, 42 from 13, but they had 62 from 20. So, just small things to improve on that they need to do. Like tackles, I asked for tackles to be increased. I said tackles need to be increased if we wanted to work. 71 tackles and 8 inside 50. So we did find some improvements, but I guarantee if I slipped straight down into the stoppage work, where I was saying that we need to work, that centre bounce area needs to be fixed, straight away we lost. We lost hit-outs by 1, which is fine. Look, that's not a big deal. Sherry's probably the second best ruckman, or third, tied behind Max Gordon and Brodie Grundy. But total clearance is 49-40. That kills you. Stoppages, they killed us around stoppages, 33-25. So we're dead last in that category. And it's definitely something on the off-season we need to improve on going through the rest of the year, because it's just not good enough. And it's hard to find as many positives as there is negatives. But we are a rebuilding side. I need to remember that. I think that sometimes I tend to forget that. We won a couple of games, and I want us to win more. But I do forget we are trying to train a new system and build ourselves up again. But look, it is what it is. Unfortunately, we lost to North, considering last time it was 4. But we'll go into next year putting some of these boys on ice, either for the VFL finals or get them ready for a bigger and better preseason. Come into next year, and hopefully we climb up the ladder a bit more. We win, instead of winning 5 games, we win 6 or 7. And these young players, like you see your Smiley and your Hot and your Lawler and your Armstrong and Jonty, all play together, and we can see what the future's going to look like. So, all right, guys, that's it for this episode. If you could, please hit that like and subscribe button. I know it gets annoying seeing my ugly head all the time, but I thought, why not ask? Trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. If you could, share this around as well. I would appreciate that as well. Stay safe and go Tigers.